Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Irkutsk for the MSEM format. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be watching the round 1 match between Chumbeque, who is on Suicide Black, and Augur, who is on Red Black Villainy. So, I know that last tournament Augur made at least top 4, maybe top 2 with this Red Black Villainy deck. It's essentially a tempo deck which aims to use Jara Champion and Performer of Desire as early powerful threats, and then play a controlling game with the rest of its cards. Has a bunch of removal, card draw, and then has face burn with the titular Villainy or a Xanagan. So it looks like turn 1, Augur ran out Jara Champion, which is one of their tempo-ish cards. Chumbeque is going to respond with a Duress, grabbing a Stolen Secrets, which, not super great. It looks like Augur's going to have an aggressive curve out here because all the other cards that Augur has are lands. So you have Crumbling Precipice. This, because of the life loss from this Pain land, Jara Champion does get pumped up, so he gets to swing in for 2 right here. And I think one thing that's going to be telling in this matchup is both players are kind of playing like aggressive decks in which losing life is a key component, but Augur has the ability to recoup the life loss with Villainy and Xanagan, while Chumbeque's deck really doesn't, other than Guardian of Dusk. And I think you actively don't want Guardian of Dusk to be sacrificed. So I think Chumbeque's deck, and with Chumbeque's deck being on the defensive right here, I don't know what's going to happen. And Chumbeque playing a Dark Bargain and then passing. Like, I think in this matchup, Chumbeque has to play the aggressor in some form or another, because Chumbeque can't wait until late game and then play a controlling game and then just try to drop a Herald of Oblivion or or a Guardian of Dusk. Mainly because at that point, Augur can just burn out Chumbeque, and Chumbeque doesn't have a good answer to a resolved Planeswalker or Villainy. Really needs to, and speaking of Villainy, here it comes, top decked. But yeah, Villainy just being able to face burn just makes this matchup so hard for Chumbeque, in addition to the life gain. And this Jara Champ is really putting a beating on Chumbeque. Okay, on end, Chumbeque's going to crack the Dark Bargain, draw another card. That is one. Dark Bargain is really basically a Sign in Blood, a Sign in Blood, except you can divide the card draw over turns, and it's an enchantment for enchantment synergies, which makes it a really strong staple in the format. Okay, Chumbeque with the Duress, but it's 1 turn too late. And Augur reveals Jara Champion and another land. Doesn't really have anything to proc the Villainy at the moment, but honestly doesn't need it, because next turn just untaps, plays the land, flips Performer, and then just domes Chumbeque for, I think, lethal at that point, because that would be 4 with the champion, and then Performer swings in for a whopping 8. So yeah, that would be 1 more than lethal. So yep, flips Performer of Desire into Pyrus. Oh, I forgot, can't actually kill this turn because of the champion clause on Jara Champion. Very important. So champion can't attack this turn. He's going to just swing in for 8 with Pyrus. And Chumbeque's only answer to Pyrus now is a Wither. And even with a Wither, next turn, Augur just swings in with the Jara Champion. And I don't think Chumbeque has any multiple removal spells, like in main, yeah. And doesn't have the mana to be able to cast 2 removal spells. So I think this game is just over. Okay, Herald of Oblivion coming down as, 11/11 flyer. That can block, that can block Pyrus for a turn. Actually, because it's so big, I guess it can continue to chump block. Okay, and then you're going to run a Duress again, revealing Jara Champion, Crumbling Precipice. Okay, Herald is actually good here because it can effectively just chump the Pyrus. But it can't block the Jara Champ because Jara Champ has Menace. And that's it. So that was a quick game 1, and I think both of these players' decks are going to be blisteringly fast. And Augur just so happened to be on the play and have an aggressive curve out, and Chumbeque just didn't draw any of his removal, just drew all of the hand attack in a situation where it didn't matter. Let's look at sideboarding. So for Chumbeque, Chaos and Bloom is a good wipe, but I don't think you bring that in. Same for Just Business, because uh, I guess you could use Just Business as a Planeswalker removal, so maybe bringing in a few of these. But I think Chumbeck would prefer to like get on the board and then use it. So the Afterlife takes its due, I think, is another anti-aggro card. And Shikai's readout is just not very good in this matchup. So I don't even know what Chumbeck would bring in from the side. Maybe maybe a few Chaos and Bloom and Just Businesses, and that's about it. The problem, of course, being that Augur's deck just does not depend that much on its creatures, even though in the first game it did win with them, but they're just kind of there as like some fast threats. And if you answer like one or two of them, the deck can just keep pumping on. It's not like a go wide deck where like wipes do anything. Meanwhile, unlike Chumbeck's 4-4-4-3 sideboard, Augur's got a bunch of little cards in here. I could see Explorer's Fate coming in as another way to just tick down Chumbeck's life total and burn him out. I don't think this is a Duress matchup. Same for Seal the Tomb. One more Memento Mori maybe because it can exile cards from grave so that Ambitious Necromancer sucks and doubles as a removal spell. Flesh to Rot is not good here. Neither is Antithesis. Jejun is actually interesting because of the lifelink, but I think it's a little too cute and I'm not sure why it's in the sideboard. And Zanagan I think can come in because of her face burn ability. So those are my predictions for sideboarding. Okay, starting off game 2, Chumbeck doesn't have a turn 1 play, but Augur's going to open up the same way. Jara Champion coming down. And turn 2, before playing a land, Chumbeck is just going to cycle the Honorless Offering that will allow Augur to pump up the Jara Champ. It looks like Chumbeck did hit a land though, going to Wayfarer's Shrine, crack that, and then drop a Swamp. And wow, same start as last game. He's going to swing in for 2 with the Jara Champ. Doesn't have the Pain land this time, but does have the Performer of Desire again. And this is the aggressive curve out Augur needs, I think, to just keep putting pressure on Chumbeck. And it seems like Chumbeck once again just has a bunch of hand attack. Prying Inquiry coming down. I think you just grab the Villainy in this situation. But you don't have lots of good options because so Chumbeck is going to grab the Villainy, but then Lucian can essentially just come down, acts as an unconditional removal spell or lifelink beater. It's just not a good situation. And then Honorless Offering refills Augur's hand. Like I think right here, Augur just goes Honorless Offering X equals 3 and just refills their hand completely. And yep, is going to do that. Honorless Offering self for 3, and then swings in for 3 with the Jar Champ. Or actually 5. I didn't realize how fast his Jar Champion had grown. Damn. I guess that happens when Chumbeck's just poking himself every turn. And yep, I'm going to do it again with the Dark Bargain. And with the second, here comes Herald of Oblivion. So it comes in with 9 -1/-1 counters, but being a 5/5 flyer for 1 is nothing to scoff at. Unfortunately, it cannot block this Jara Champion, so I don't know that Chumbeck can win this game. Because, like, even if Chumbeck has a second blocker next turn, Jara Champion can swing out with the Menace. And I should explain. Sorry. Even if Chumbeck has another blocker, Lucian can -3 one of the creatures and kill them. Or Augur could have a Memento Mori, making Chumbeck sack. And now it's back to the same situation as the first game where Chumbeck needs 2 removal spells and doesn't have the mana to cast it. So I think this game is just over. And yeah, wow. Those were some blisteringly fast games. And it's just like, it's almost like Augur said, like, oh, you're the blisteringly fast suicide aggro deck? Actually, no, I'm the blisteringly fast suicide aggro deck. And I think that's really the strength of Augur's deck is really just Chumbeck's deck, but better in my opinion, because Chumbeck's deck is essentially an interactive deck with powerful aggressive beaters that end the game, but Chumbeck's beaters can only come down late in the game, while Augur can just curve out perfectly with like Jar Champion into Performer, into Villainy, into Lucian, into Zanagan, just keep chaining threats like that. Even if one of your threats gets removed, you have like a lot of versatility in your game plan. So I think for that reason, I think Augur's deck just is better, and I think that's also why Augur's deck performed better. However, I think Chumbeck's deck is still very strong and could take opponents who aren't ready for it and don't have the speed of interaction to deal with it. They could really just get domed. So I'm interested in seeing how both of these decks perform going forward. Will Augur move on to have another top 4 finish? Let's see next time on coverage of Grand Prix Irkutsk. Until next time, this is Caillou signing off.